I lived at the studio. We worked from 7 to 7, 12-hour day, except on Friday, and then we worked from 7 to 11:42. I didn't get a script. I had a test. There were 18 of us actors that tested. I was 17th out of 18, and they had a camera on us in between takes, and it was being broadcast live to New York. And when my part of the audition was over, another actor, I can't remember his name now, but he was a producer after that. He walked by me as I was walking out, and I said, "I don't know why you're coming in, I got the role." And I went down to my dressing room, and a lovely woman named Ethel Wynett called, and she was in charge of casting for CBS, and she said, "Well, go to wardrobe, you got the role." And I was thrilled. I almost didn't go because I was doing a movie called Young Dillinger with Nick Adams, a dear friend who is partially responsible for my career expediting more than I would have if I hadn't had that relationship. And John Ashley, and he was a part of this group of guys that hung around in '57 on the Sunset Strip. And we were doing the movie, and I said, there's this classy thing called Wild Wild West. It was at that time just called Wild West. They're doing, and I've been called up to audition to test. I don't know, I'm one of many. And he said, "Oh, go do it. It's during lunch hour. Good experience." And I said, "Yeah, all right," during the lunch hour. And the rest is, the show was just taken off of KDOC in Los Angeles, where it was the #1 show in primetime cable at 7 o'clock on Sunday nights. It was the most expensive show being made in those days at that time. And one of the problems that we had was the cost. The stunts were monumental, and it took a long time to prep the stunts. And for people in show business, I mean, to prepare a stunt and to choreograph the action took quite a while. And CBS was going, "Can we afford this? Can we afford this?" And I said, "You know what? What he's doing, I can do. And if I do it, it's going to cut the time period in half." And the director shrugged his shoulders and said, "Have at it." And the show hadn't been aired yet, and I started doing my own stunts. I had previously done stunts for a small independent distributor called Ziv, but in any event, so I started doing my own stunts. Then the show did debut. I think it debuted to a 44 share. You can research that. I'm not sure if that is the right number, but it was way up there, way up there. And it was in the 40s for that first year, and with just 3 networks. So I kind of laugh now with all the stuff that's on cable, and then, whoa, we got 6 million people. I said, that's what I've got on my radio show. You call that a successful television show? Give me a break. I come from the south side of Chicago, 6105 South Bishop, for those who are living there. Sorry I brought up the address, but I'm from 63rd Street, let's say from 63rd Street, and we didn't have a lot of horses available for us to ride. And when I did the pilot, the cinematographer came up to me and said, "I love working with you because there's so much air between the saddle and your butt. We can see all the scenery in the background. You're bouncing all over." And a stunt choreographer came up to me and said, "You want to learn how to do this?" And I said, "Yeah." And I ended up doing almost every major rodeo in the United States with the stunt show. The only one I didn't do was the one in Canada. And I was offered that, but they didn't want to pay the money that we needed at that time to do that show. So I did become a proficient at writing, and the other guy who was prior to me, who was supposed to be a relatively good writer, was Glenn, what the hell's his last name? Glenn, give me a break. Glenn Ford. Thanks. Sorry. That's okay. You're not perfect. If you were perfect, we'd pray to you on Sunday. There was a group of, I think, 4 English actors, stuntmen, visiting our set. And we had choreographed it. I was to jump off the second floor onto the chandelier, and this guy was supposed to stop my forward motion. I was supposed to kick him through a window. He was late coming to me, and I said, let's do this again, because come on, you know, semper fi, let's get this done. And the second time, he was really late, and he didn't stop my forward momentum. My hands slid, and I fell 15 feet to the floor and had a high temporal concussion, a 6-inch lineal fracture of the skull. His contribution to the show is, he was on the old Johnny Carson show many, many years ago. And Johnny asked him, he said, so Ross, do you do your own stunts? And Ross said, no, I do my own acting. And doing my own stunts as an actor didn't really endear me to the industry, because I became kind of a macho image. And when I did sensitive work that was sometimes challenging or demanding, I was always the guy in the tight pants who was going to throw someone down a flight of stairs. And it isn't until now that my work is being looked at a little differently, because I'm older, and it's, as I say in reruns, it's not as current as obviously it was. So it's kind of fun for me. Mishner, I did Centennial and James Mishner. Now there's a Western. Now you want to talk Western, that is a Western. Mishner came up to me and said, if you don't win the Emmy for this, there is no justice. And he wrote that on a book that he autographed for me, and I was very impressed, because you know, he's one of the top historic writers ever. And I was flattered to receive that accolade from Mr. Mishner. Yeah, Michael Dunn was a 3 foot 8 inch, 79-pound dwarf, and a wonderful actor, and lived in New York. He was a singer. I had a club down in Florida, a nightclub in Florida, and he opened it for me. I was thrilled, and he and Phoebe Doran, which was his, I think it was, she was his love mate. I don't know if Phoebe's around, but I never got involved in their personal business. Anyway, when he came to Hollywood to do the show, we became friends. He'd stay at my house. And one day my son came running into the bedroom, Dad, Dad, Dad. And I said, what? He said, there's this little man in my bed. I said, yeah, okay, so. And we played football, hard touch football every Saturday, and we'd play various teams. And the Wild West, of course, has a team, of course, I'm proud to say was undefeated. And he would be on a golf cart, and he was the referee, because he couldn't play because of his size. And he was very proud of his hands and his head, because and he said those were normal. And he allegedly told me another part of his body that was normal, but I didn't care to hear about it. The network, the only time the network got involved was at the end of the show. It was canceled because of Senator Pastori of Rhode Island. I thought it was too violent, and I was doing a charity in Rochester, New York, for the Shriners, for those kids, for that hospital. And he called me in the locker room and told me that the show had been canceled, not for ratings. It was in the 30s then, but because of the violence, which is, that was then, this is now. C'est la vie, as they say. It was an action piece. It was escapism fare. It's everything right and good about TV. You're tired, you put in hard 8 hours. In my circumstance, it was 40 hours. You work all week, and you can kick your shoes off and have a beer at 8 o'clock at night and watch escapism fare. That's what it was, and I was honored to have been able to do that show with wonderful, 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 that's 3 wonderful actors, some great actors. I took the scripts as written, and I ran my own company for 20 years. We were talking about that, making movies for television successfully. And when I went into retiring from acting, by my choice, which is something I always wanted to do, I said, I want to leave the job. I don't want the job to leave me. And I, of course, have a very successful radio show. But I didn't read, at the last, I think, year or two, I didn't read the scripts. I memorized the lines. and came to work and did exactly what the director wanted me to do. I was always on time, I was always polite, and I never renegotiated my contract. I probably should have in hindsight, but I said, I made a deal, I shook your hand, you got a piece of paper with my name on it, let's go do it. And Ann Nelson, Senior Vice President of CBS, and I became friends, even though she was very, very tough to negotiate with. But she became my friend. She passed on recently, unfortunately. But I will always think very highly of that woman. You know, usually in our business, you know this, but the audience may not know, they have a party at the end of shooting. Everyone shakes hands, give a hug, and hope to see you sometime down the line. We did it in front. So everyone was still there. They were on their way to another film or another commitment. And I said, now, if any changes, the writer's here, the producer's here, do you have any changes, that anything you're uncomfortable with? Okay, we'll fix that, we'll do that, okay. Now, take that script home with you. I don't want to see it on the set, 'cause I don't pay you to study and learn on the set, I pay you to act. And so we would have the wrap party, and the scripts never came out, and the acting was, I thought, wonderful. Because camp, if you want to use that word, that's hard to do. It's not easy, you know. And there's a fine line there between going overboard with it. The most fun for me to do was to get to work in the morning. That was the most fun. I mean, I was treated gingerly at CBS. I had a magnificent dressing room with chandeliers, and every Friday night, certain members of the crew and some actors would come up to my dressing room, and we'd play cards, play poker, and then every Saturday we would play football Saturday night, and Sunday I went home to visit with my family because the hours were so long. I lived at the studio. We worked from 7 to 7, 12-hour day, except on Friday, and then we worked from 7 to 11:42 at night. Well, I used to load trucks for a living when I was 15 for $1.86.5 an hour, $74.40 for 40, and it was in the Windy City, and the doors would be open, the wind would blow off the Chicago River. So it's a piece of cake, having my own dressing room, hello, and having, they cater food for you, you know, craft service it's called, and I think it's funny. That was the hardest part of running my company, was watching everyone come to work to eat. It still is successful. I went to a birthday party Thursday, the 17th of September, for my son, and he's a contractor. And after work, he goes to this bar and grill, and it's charming. It's majority it's predominantly male, and all the guys came up and talked to me. Man, we love that show. I've got the DVDs. Would you sign this? And would you do? And they embraced the show, and that's what I liked about the show. I'm in the business to entertain the public, and the reason I do radio now is it's an entertainment show, and I like to interview John Voight or Donna Mills or Barrymore, little Drew Barrymore. I worked with her dad. Well, there wasn't anything Western about it. I mean, you know, I wasn't wrangling cows anywhere. We weren't, you know, bringing the herd and all the cattle across. John Wayne wasn't there. And, you know, it was just a whole little gadgets, and I was supposed to be the first Secret Service agent working for the president. And we always had these beautiful women, oh my gosh. I just got a correspondence from a guy named Javier from France, and he listed how many fight sequences I had and how many women. And I'm just throwing these numbers around because I didn't memorize it, but it's like 143 women I kissed and 118 fights, or vice versa, I can't remember. Now, who likes action could have more fun doing 118 fights, and I never met a woman I didn't like. I mean, to go to work and kiss a woman, are you serious? Hello? James Michener is a teacher. I believe I don't know if he's got a doctorate. Anyway, he's a teacher, and everything that he did was fiction based on fact. So when I played this part of Pasquinel, a French trapper, coming from Saint Louis, it was real. And it was, for my taste, the one thing that I have done in my career that I enjoyed the most. I knew when I was finished with that show that I met the challenge, and I was very, very happy that that happened. This business, we're all so lucky to be in it. Every actor that takes a deep breath should be grateful that they're in it. You get to entertain people, and you can have escapism fare. You know, I could be Gregory Boettcher, who was awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor. I can be G. Gordon Liddy, who did 5 years in jail for what he believed in at that particular time. Or I could go and be young John Dillinger. And there was another role that I did, I can't remember the name of it right now, that I truly enjoyed. That was silly stuff, that was a Western. Can't remember the name of it now. It'll come to me, you know. Memory's the first thing you lose when you get old. I like Peter. He's a wonderful actor, a wonderful actor. He has a different method than I do. I would say he's more a method actor. We were doing a sequence where I was supposed to be drinking carrot juice, and the scene wasn't going the way it should have for whatever reason. And he sips out of the same cup. And I said, hey, Peter, enough of this. Let's hit the orange juice. It looks like carrot juice. He said, no, I can't react to that. I have to react to the real deal. And I respect that. You know, I respect actors that need that kind of a thing to make it work. Peter's a wonderful actor. You know, Peter's just a wonderful, wonderful actor. And the interesting thing about acting, that the older you get, the better you will be. You get used to it. You're not intimidated by the camera. The camera becomes your friend. So I see performances now by a guy named Red West, who was Elvis Presley's bodyguard, who I helped with his career. And I saw it at UCLA in the theater there, and he gave a magnificent performance. And he just finished working with Kevin Spacey, who used to stand outside my gate. His name was Kevin Fowler then. And I was going home on one of my weekend going home, and Joan said, hey, there's this guy downstairs that's frightening me. Find out what that's all about. So I went down and said, hey, yo, what's up? And he said, oh, I'm so glad to meet you. I'm starring in Sound of Music at the whatever high school, and I'd love you to come and see me. I love your work. I love your work. I love your work. And I said, well, thank you very much, but do me a favor. You know, kind of not hang around here. Kind of, you know, it's difficult for my wife. He said, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So I told my wife what was going on, and would you like to see him? And she said, not particularly. And I went, and I saw him, and he was absolutely magnificent at the high school level. And then we began a friendship that's lasted. I haven't seen Kevin for years. I was doing the CARSON show. I was walking off, and he was walking on. It was one of those days where they did two, and we just sort of waved. But he's going to do my radio show. And I'm really happy for him. I'm really happy that he's had the career that I guess he wanted. Yeah, I said the CARSON show, but Johnny wasn't fond of me. I had never had an opportunity to speak to him. I did subsequently later. I ran into him at a restaurant called Beau Rivage in Malibu. But according to his wife, Joanne, there's three Joannes, but according to his wife, they were having an argument, and she pointed to the screen and said, now that's a real man. And that didn't set too well with Johnny, and subsequently I never did the show when he was on the air. When Ross did the show, it was Johnny. When I did it was Sammy Davis, Joey Bishop. It was all alternative people subbing for Johnny. And as far as Johnny's concerned, I thought it was hilarious. And he did my commercial for years. I dare you. It dressed up and kind of, I don't know whether he was mocking me or not, but I didn't care, you know. Well, first I learned the lines. And then I try and react to it as I would react to it in real life. Because that's what to really be good at what you're doing, you've got to take something that's make-believe and make it believable. And I look back on my work now and I'm very, very happy with the career I've had, because I could see what I was doing. And I will say honestly, I didn't get some of the credit I was entitled to because I was the macho man. I had a battery on my shoulder, and you know, I was kissing women on a train, and I was doing my own stunts. And, you know, that's, you don't win popularity contests doing that with people. I mean, I like action, you know, but I can sit around and I could have done 12 Angry Men. You know, it's all acting. You got to remember, it was an actor that killed Lincoln. That's all we are, is actors. There's no special category where I was in this upscale restaurant a couple of years ago, and I was sitting there with some friends, and this actor, so that, you know, was eating, and this elderly women came up and asked for an autograph. Can't you see I'm eating? How can you disturb me while I'm eating? And I thought to myself, without that woman disturbing you, you wouldn't be in this high-profile restaurant, Turkey. But I didn't say anything to him, because my wife said, "Don't get up." I said, "All right, dear, don't get up. We don't want a lawsuit." There's only 4 guys I know. I love his work, Shatner's work. I saw him when I was back in Chicago. I was 20 years old, and he was on a Playhouse 90, and I said, "Oh, this guy could act." And I was studying at that time at Northwestern, and I was very impressed with Bill's work. He does a big charity every year. My daughter produces it. It's for handicapped kids, and it's about horses and all that. But if you want to talk about physical people in the business, you want to talk about Mickey Rourke. You want to talk about Tony Danza. You want to talk about Ryan O'Neal. You want to talk about Robert Conrad. Those are guys that can take it and put it in the ring and do something with it. But that's a whole other thing. That's a whole different sport. It has nothing to do with acting. Well, it's like a dance routine. You know, it's the same thing. You practice certain steps when you dance, and when you do a choreographed fight, you do the same thing. You can't be hitting a man if you're a former boxer on the chin with no headgear and no gloves, just bare knuckles. So that's why it has to be choreographed. And every once in a while, very rarely on our show, would we mishap. If we did mishap, everyone was forgiven, but it didn't happen very often.
By mishap, you mean actually
yeah,
making a blow?
Yeah, yeah. I was rehearsing, I was doing a Maverick years ago. Oh my gosh. Jack Kelly was the alternate star. It was Jimmy Garner, of course, and that's a Western. We talk Westerns, that's a Western. I was rehearsing with this guy, I won't mention his name. I've subsequently seen him, and we shook hands and friends, and I said, you know, let's rehearse this part where we fight by the fire. He said, no, I'm into my lines, I'm studying. I said, yeah, but we got to do the fight too. That's part of what we're doing here. And I said, no, no, no. I said, you hit me, I'm going to hit you back. I went to the director and I said, the guy won't rehearse. And he said, that's all right, don't worry about it. Roll him. I hit that guy so hard, I think I put him on another sound stage after he hit me. After he hit me. Then I said, okay. And I ran into him, we laughed about it, and the studio saw it, Hugh Benson, and they called me in, and that was one of the things that contributed to my going under contract to Warner's. And I was the last actor under contract to the Warner Brothers Studios, and Connie Stevens. Miss Stevens was the other one. So beautiful Connie Stevens, yes.
Very beautiful.
I would hope so. In our show, in the Wild West, all they would say was, they fight. When we had a coordinator named Whitey Hughes, he just passed away. Wonderful, wonderful stuntman, a Hall of Fame stuntman, and he choreographed it with me, and until I fired him, which in the last night. But when he accepted the award, was given the award, he asked me to speak in his behalf, which I was thrilled to do. But we had a little altercation. He coordinated with us. I used the same stuntmen. I would change their makeup and their wardrobe, and the audience, some of them, the diehards, got hip to what was happening, and sometimes we'd cast the show to fit the stuntman. But we had the same. We had a wonderful stuntman, and like I said, Red West was one of them, who's now an outstanding actor. And he just finished working with Kevin Fowler. Kevin Spacey. Can you imagine? There's deja vu. A kid that's outside my gate, and Red West, who's Elvis Presley's aide-de-camp bodyguard, and all three of us are intertwined now. 52 years later, it was 52 years, August 17th, that I arrived in Hollywood. It's timeless. The wardrobe is in fashion still. It's that kind of wardrobe. The show is bizarre. You know, it's escapism fair. That's the best two words I can say to apply to that show and what that show is. Not was, is. And while I'm talking about it, I've been asked this question more times than I've been asked anything. What did I think of the John Peters Wild West movie? And it didn't disturb me because it wasn't the Wild West that I did. And Will Smith had as much business playing me as I do have playing Martin Luther King. This doesn't seem to make any sense. I don't know where they were going or what they were doing. They took a title and then they made a show that failed, and I was happy to accept the Razzie Award for Worst Picture of the Year. I kissed my wife. You know how they do in the Academy Awards? They always kiss their wife before they go up. I gave her a little kiss and said, thank you for calling it the worst show you've seen this year. I went to France. My phone would not stop ringing.
Because?
Because what do you think about Will Smith playing you in the movie? And I went to Paris with my daughter, Kaja, and that's my biggest market is France. And the interesting thing about the French, the three actors that are up on that list of theirs are unique. It's Conrad, Stallone, and Rourke. Interesting, eh?
Man's a man.
Macho, macho man. And you know, I was brought up by a single parent, female. She took me by the hand when I was 6 and took me to the Windy City gym and said to Mr. Coulon, who's in the Hall of Fame, Johnny Coulon, teach him to box. And there I was. And then I'm playing football where I set the private school scoring record in 48 or 9. Anyway, and I had the ball here, and when I got hit, it hit me in the solar plex, and I was out of breath, and I couldn't get up right away. And there was this screamer on the high, get up, get up, get up, God damn it, get up. And the guy that was with me said, who is she? I said, oh, that's my mother.
It's tough.
Yeah, well, hey, I loved her then, love her now, love her forever. She's a good kid. And I ended up adopting her when she was about 35, I think. And I was 20. Yeah, we'd go out and cabaret together. I went in the men's room, and this guy came in there with me. He said, man, is she hot? Are you lucky? I said, that's my mom. He went, yeah, that's your mom, right on. And well, it was. Jackie was her name. Yeah, well, my thoughts of Bonanza were that it was well-written, well-acted, and a Western during a period of time when Westerns were very popular. I would rather have done the Wild West than Bonanza.
And why?
Well, because it's a classic. It is what it is. It's out there. It's a James Bond on a horse. It's campy. It's whatever. So if we could do strange things with a dwarf. Yeah, and who kissed every woman, you know, at the end of the show or the beginning of the show, and, you know, who got to fall down flights of stairs? Who? Well, you know, because it was unique and is unique. And I'm overwhelmed by the fact that I truly did not see a lot of that show. But now I've discovered the show, and I'm watching it. I've got the DVDs now, but I don't stick it in. I'd rather watch John Garfield in Body and Soul than Robert Conrad. You know, I'm not at that point where I can, you know, watch myself. Hey, I want to see what I did 40 years ago. So. But, you know, I came out here because I won an acting award, and I was a serious actor. I've done theater very successfully, and was on my way to Broadway in 1980 when I ended up doing my first movie for television, which I'll share a 31, 33, 37, 41 share. The highest rated show NBC had that year. It tied the Sophia Loren special, and that was the first of my movies, my homemade movies. I'm very comfortable with what has happened in my life and the public reaction to my work and the critiques. I mean, I don't have a bitter pill to swallow because overall, in reflection, it's been a good run.